Tuesday, February 10, 2022, Dan Grider at Probable Cause with
J-Pilot
and
Flywire.
How is this for absolutely unique? Three knuckleheads all in the same room at the same time. J-Pilot, we were going to interview you, but you're a little kid. You don't have anything to say, and we don't really want you to be here in the first place. But it is cool. J-Pilot's going to edit up this video. A unique opportunity today because Scott Purdue, Flywire, is here in the hangar with us, and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. J-Pilot, have you got any good videos coming out pretty soon? Huh?
Yeah.
All right, and we need to talk about your girlfriend. Where?
How tall is she?
How tall? What's her
I
name?
don't know.
I have a girlfriend?
It's news to you.
Pretty unique opportunity. As for right now, J-Pilot's going to go get me a cup of coffee, aren't you? Yes.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Children should be seen and not heard. We're going to do...
Shush, Dan. Shush. Shush.
Hey, good point.
Anyway, we got to get this video up and on the air. J-Pilot is on the way to get us some coffee. And Scott Purdue, man, thanks for flying in here today. Totally awesome. I'm sorry about the flight crew that you had to fly with here today. Marginal conditions.
Got to put up with what you got to put up with.
Exactly. But anyway, Scott's in town for a couple of days. Tell us what you're doing here. Why you in Atlanta, Georgia? Why are you here?
I just came to give a talk to some aviation people and talk about flying and how to think about flying and how to keep training and recurrency in their flying.
Yeah, there you go. So training and recurrency. What effect overall do you think training and recurrency has on the GA model as compared to the military model? You were giving me some statistics before about training versus mission in the military versus the flip side in GA.
Yeah, for this talk that I went through my logbook to see just how much, when I was in the military, how much flying I did versus getting ready to fly for what I was training to do.
Right. Yeah. And what's the percentages approximately?
96% was for training. 4% my job was to be a firefighter. So,
in summary, in the military, you do 95% training and 5% actually accomplishing a mission. GA, we do 95% missions and 5% maybe training. Maybe. Exactly flipped. And our accident rate reflects that too. So training and proficiency, even thinking about accidents and how to prevent accidents is going to help us. And that's where YouTube, I think, has really been a revolution in the last couple of years with the stuff that both you and me and Juan Brown do and a few of the others concerning talking about airplane accidents while they're still fresh. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's one of the big reasons why I do the YouTube channel is to do that. I love teaching, and I think I can reach more people with what I'm trying to say, what I think they need to pay attention to, by doing it via YouTube.
Yeah. Well, it's had a huge effect. I don't know if you've noticed, but AOPA has gone to early analysis, which they never did before. They have copied you and me and Juan. Now AOPA is producing videos on occasion, and they call it early analysis, which I view as the same stuff that you and I are doing. And it's unique because all of us have our own different style of producing videos about accidents. You guys are kind of conservative and respectful. I am not either one of those.
Well, it takes all kinds.
It takes all kinds. But, I think we've all got a lot of traction off of it. My channel has grown crazy. Yours has too. Juan's has. And for each one of these accidents that we review, I get so many comments and emails. You probably do too about thanks for that piece of information.
It's surprising how much I get. I get a lot of positive stuff, a lot of people thanking me for doing it, and people that tell their stories triggered by the story I was telling. But I rarely get haters like you do.
I get a lot of haters. But I kind of egg them on too. I kind of get into it. Is what it is. And then when I pull out a banjo and do that kind of stuff, oh man, you should see that stuff.
The haters blow up.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's deliverance all over again.
Deliverance again. But we've made a lot of progress, and it's the social media thing. It used to be that print magazines was all we had, and a paper document that comes out 3 years later, kind of meaningless. Now we have social media. We got the opportunity for me and Scott to produce a video right here, and it'll be on the air in about an hour. So we got speed. And tell me about the military thing. You were telling me about in the military, when an accident happens, how long does it take before the military issues, Air Force, before they issue a probable cause?
The Air Force has two different safety or accident investigation things. One that's called, and there might be a little bit of updated terminology because if you don't change everything in the Air Force in every 3 years,
Right.
You're falling behind. So it's a safety investigation, and that's 30 days.
They issue a probable cause within 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
Then from that comes recommendations and how to fix the problem, and that's what it focuses on. It's not, the safety investigation is not attributional, and it is confidential as well.
Right. So compare that to the NTSB.
Well, the other side of the coin is the Air Force has the accident investigation, and what happens is the safety investigation takes control of the wreckage if there is any, all the everything to go with it, and then they produce two sides of the report. One side is the talking to the people, probable causes, and recommendations and stuff like that, and the left side of the report are the facts.
Right.
The facts go to the accident investigation, and the accident investigation then proceeds and does it all over again, and this time it can be retributional.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so really what's happening here, I think, between the FAA and the NTSB is they short circuit straight to the accident investigation, but instead of taking 30 days or 60-ish, then they're really taking 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. They're taking
And-
years. And what?
They're not really producing very much in the way of recommendations. It's just if it's a high profile
Yeah.
thing like Part 121 or Part 135.
Yeah, I did the 2020 general aviation data in all the wrecks, both fatal and non-fatal, for the year 2020. The NTSB only produced 8 recommendations for GA. That's all. And their job is to both investigate and issue recommendations. Now, they're going to come back and say there's no recommendation possible for somebody that does something dumb. On occasion, that could be true, but there's a tremendous amount of recommendations that could be coming out that we're actually doing via YouTube. We recommend that you don't do this.
Well, and you said that you can't make a recommendation for somebody doing something dumb. That's actually, I don't think, true at all. Because why did they do something dumb? Was it because they just they don't like authority, or one of those 5 things that the FAA puts out there, or is it because they didn't know
Right.
things about like maneuvering speed that we were going to talk about for 880?
I'm actually quoting AOPA. That's AOPA's stance on why the NTSB does not issue recommendations because according to AOPA, McSpadden, they've said it over and over, they can't issue a recommendation for a pilot that simply does something dumb. I agree with you. That is incorrect, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to get out of this bell-shaped curve here and get back to something that we can actually do something with. Even if a guy does something dumb, there's something we can learn off of this most of the time.
How not to do it, not to get in that position.
Yeah.
Doing something dumb yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So we're making progress, and I'm really thrilled with all of it. I've had a lot of fun with the YouTube thing. I haven't had time to answer all the haters lately, just because there's been so many. But Juan Brown, we've got a lot of problems with Juan Brown. His social skills, he bumps into a lot of stuff. You ever see him ride a motorcycle? He rides that thing crooked. You ever notice that? So Juan's got a lot of work to do, and I hope he doesn't see this video. But anyway, next topic. Let's talk about CRM. Scott, you're an airline guy.
I am. I spent some time.
You spent some time in the airline, as did I. You did military. I never did military, mostly because they wouldn't let me in. They got those standards and stuff like that. But I did corporate GA, private jets, turboprops, all that kind of stuff, and you went the military route. But tell me what CRM is relative to this concept that we always had in the airlines, this really big term called soliciting input. You got something going on. Tell me about American Airlines' concept for solicit input as a factor for CRM. How do you solicit the input?
Well, the way you solicit input, the way it happens, is the airline in the beginning, at the very beginning of training, makes it integral in how the crew operates together.
Right.
So from the very beginning, this is how we do things. There's the pilot flying and pilot monitoring. The captain is in charge of the flight.
Right.
But he may not be the one flying. He may not be the pilot flying, so then he's the pilot monitoring. So typically in the airline world, you swap. You do one sortie, one trip this way and the next guy does the next one.
What would you think of a captain that wouldn't have any part of listening to an idea or a thought that his FO had?
They don't last long.
They don't last long.
Yeah, they don't last long. Well, I don't. When I first started in the airline, I flew with a couple of guys like that.
Yeah.
727s, and they got highlighted.
Yeah.
Because in that world, in the FO world, you could say, well, I don't want to fly with this guy.
Right.
And after you've got 10 or 20 or 30 guys in base saying, I don't want to fly with this guy, it brings attention.
Exactly. So integral to CRM is the concept of solicit input. You can call it constructive criticism. It may not even be a critique. It may be something, even a flight attendant in the back of the airplane that says, I just heard a funny noise that I've never heard before. Well, that's valuable information. I'd like to know that. In the briefing with the flight attendants, you can say, if you see, hear, or smell anything abnormal, call me because I'd like to know what it is that you got right there. That's soliciting input. And this all comes back to the fatal Learjet crash, November 8800 from California a few days ago. We're down to the big box companies who train this maneuver called circle to land. We're down to the big box companies, and there's one in particular that got really upset with me over even broaching this topic of circle to land. And so what I did was I pulled out my own Learjet flight safety book. Now this is from a few years ago, but I went to school on all those airplanes. I used to go through flight safety all the time. So we pulled out a few sections on Learjet 35A. The concept is not specific only to the 35A. The concept that we're talking about here now is circle to land operations. So picking through all this kind of stuff, what is it that you can glean from this? Is that my coffee?
That's your coffee. You want some coffee?
Yes, Jay Pilot. What took you so long?
The coffee machine stopped working.
That's not a good excuse. Try to do better.
That's amazing.
After looking through this stuff, we pulled out a few sections out of the manual just for reference. What jumps out at you? What strikes you as odd in this stuff so far?
Well, one of the things that strikes me is I've flown warbirds in the past, and the Dash 1s, basically that's what we call the pilot operating handbook. It's not what you call there, but it's the Dash 1. It's the early ones in World War II were really skosh.
Right. You're calling the Dash 1, you're equating that with an AFM. Flight manual.
Flight manual. That's what this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got the AFM, the flight manual. That's what that blue book is. Flight safety's taken it and converted it over to a training manual, but it's basically the AFM out of the airplane. So this is Learjet's recommended speeds, limitations, procedures, abnormals, all that kind of stuff. Every system and all that kind of stuff's in here. But we've pulled out a couple pages here relative to circle to land operations. What jumps out at you as the big glaring thing that's missing out of all these pages?
Well, I don't see anything on here doing a circle to land.
Right.
There's nothing here that says this is a section where this is what you do in a circle to land.
The entire manual, the word circle to land is not mentioned. It's not in there. Not only that, the speeds. They've given you some big, round, fat, cheesy speeds here, but they haven't given you any procedures. And if you notice on their descent checklist, there's no specific information about bugging and briefing the min speed. How are we going to fly this? What flap setting? And think about this from the airline days. Who's inside? Who's outside? Who's going to fly the airplane? What level of automation you're going to use? And who's going to look outside and who's going to look inside? Who's going to monitor the distance off the end of the runway? Who's going to monitor the min maneuvering speed that you've already briefed and bugged? It's because we never briefed it and bugged it. No one's ever defined whose job it is, and
that's in an airline version of the flight manual here. It's very detailed and it's going to go through all of those specifics. There's nothing here for that, not at all.
Very detailed. Not only that, airline training is going to dovetail with the manual. So now you go to the simulator and you actually practice it, and you set it up. And this guy gets to be the pilot flying, pilot monitoring, and you swap roles. You make sure your dance card is perfect. You two guys can dance together. Any two guys are perfect together because they've all been through the same training. It's the whole that's missing in corporate jet turboprop operations being trained by the big box companies, hence the number of airframes falling out of the sky during circle to land operations. We're just killing people because it's not necessarily the crew's fault. It's not any one particular person at any one company. It's because this whole thing has evolved into, and I've got all these letters sitting on my desk over here from clients that have gone through flight safety, CAE, that have written to me and said, circle to land operations at the big box companies are fill a square only. Turn left, it's a 90-degree left-hand turn at either Memphis or JFK. Turn left, land the airplane, that's over, let's go on to the next thing. No emphasis on all the things that we just talked about here. How about the stall speed chart in here? What jumps out at you concerning the stall speed chart?
Well, the thing that jumped out at me in this is it says stall speeds gear up or gear down, and it has different flap settings, and that's it. There's no turning stall speeds. Even all the way back to World War II, those Scotia manuals that came back that were developed then, they'll put turning speeds in there.
Yeah.
There's
so
nothing
you gotta have turning stall speeds. You have to know. Theoretically, they've given you flaps 8 in the Learjet. We found it in the manual. It said flaps 8 fly VREF plus 30, and that'll give you a 30% buffer. I don't know if that's actually correct or not. My gut feeling is that it's not. I don't think that's, those big numbers are VREF plus 10, VREF plus 20, and VREF plus 30. I don't know who sat behind a desk at McDonald's and pulled those out of the sky, but they seem kind of big, round, and fat to me to actually be technically correct. Min maneuvering speed, we're looking for an exact number right down to the knot. What's going to give you 30%? VREF plus 30 just seems a little bit like somebody just said, let's just use VREF plus 30 and call it good.
Easy to remember.
Easy to remember, and we'll call it good. How about the definition of maneuvering speed that we found in this chart here? Read.
Well, I do find it interesting is they do talk about min maneuvering speeds, and they outline it like you just said. But that's not what they define min or maneuvering speed as. They define it purely as VA, which is, and I have a little beef with this, the highest speed that full aileron and rudder control can be applied without overstressing the aircraft.
Yes. Now, highlight that compared to your 121 world. When you say these magic words called min maneuvering speed, what is a min maneuvering speed in your 7.2, or you flew the 7.5, I flew it. What's a min maneuvering speed in the 7.5? What number does that represent?
That means that's the min number that you fly with whatever flap configuration.
Yes, it becomes a minimum. That's the slowest you can fly, a 757 with flaps 5 or whatever you got hanging out there. And on those airplanes, as soon as you come out of flaps 0, you're going to get at least mid slats. But the airplane automatically knows what configuration it's in, and it's either going to move the speed bugs, or better yet, you've already briefed it. On the dinosaur airplanes where we had to move the bugs, you already know where to set those bugs, and everybody knows what their job is. These guys come out, and all they tell you on maneuvering speed, where's that page that defines? It says maneuvering speed. It's the only place where it's actually defined. Maneuvering speed is the highest speed that full aileron and rudder control can be applied without overstressing the aircraft, or the speed at which the aircraft will stall with a load factor of 3.0 Gs at maximum gross weight, whichever is less. So that is a good textbook definition of what VA maneuvering speed is. However, in this case, it's a different animal. We're trying to define what is the min maneuvering speed that we can maneuver our aircraft at. Hence the gulf, this huge gulf between 121 and corporate. Hence the number of airplanes falling out of the sky. That explains what's going on here.
That explains what's going on here and why the insurance market is so hard to get in the corporate world.
Yes.
As well, because they're crashing airplanes way too often. And granted, in the airline world, we don't do circling.
No.
I mean, the license even says no circling, unless it's VFR.
Right.
And but in the corporate world, okay, you go to strange airports and you may not have an ILS.
Corporate world, circle to land is part of your menu every day.
So if it's that, then aren't they actually teaching you how to do it?
Yeah. See, your corporate guys, they're going to the little county and city airports, the little places out, because that's where the customer wants to go. You're going to get a non-precision approach that doesn't line up with the runway, and it's going to be night, and you have to circle because the wind's going the opposite direction. Circle to land is a thing. and it's part of the mix for keeping your job. You need to know how to circle to land. It's a huge area, and the most important thing, in summary, off of all this, is my main question. Should we be allowed to talk about this?
Well, of course, I think we need to talk about it. Not only is it a free country, but how else do we raise awareness of a topic like this? It's
Right.
not being adequately trained to. The book that they're writing about, the airplane, doesn't actually define it in a usable manner, but it's a real world thing. They're using it, and people are dying from doing it incorrectly. So yeah,
Right.
they need to train for this.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah, and the whole factor here, just my next couple videos are going to be kind of bloody on this subject, but I got a nasty email from the legal reps at Flight Safety that basically said, Dan, shut up and take that stuff down. And I didn't do it. And that's why I have written them back, and I'm going to show all my correspondence in a future video. But Flight Safety was the only one that really got upset and does not want to talk about this and wants me to shut up big time. And I take exception to that. I think we should be talking about this, and any product has the opportunity to increase the quality of it as you go along. Let's make a better product. Let's take this as an opportunity to figure out what's missing here. Take some constructive criticism from the field. Let's make the product better. Why would you not want to?
I think an important point here is that the product of the Air Force safety investigation is to make the product better. It's either to fix a training deficiency,
Right.
fix an airplane deficiency, or an operational procedure.
Yeah.
And that's where the result of the safety board goes straight into that.
Yeah.
So it's a continual improvement program.
Yeah.
Because it's not good to crash airplanes and kill people.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's huge on this. I'm glad you popped in here today, and I appreciate you swinging by. Wait, you're not Scott.
I'm not Scott.
Ethan, it's you.
It's me, Ethan Grider. Probable cause.
Well, Ethan, I think, messed up some serious editing, and he blitzed Scott out of the picture. But Scott's already gone, so we got to get this video up and on the air. You think we can fix this?
I think we can fix it.
I'm really sorry for what I did to you, so I've got some M&Ms for you. That's coming. Our M&M feature is coming up. I've got an idea for this. The M&M thing is going to be really good.
I think so.
I just wanted to say I'm sorry in advance.
Sorry I called you Karen.
That's my name.
Sorry your name is Karen.
I'm sorry you're sorry.
All right, that's it. Let's get this thing going here. For my time, anybody fledgling YouTube channel, Ethan Morgan,
Dan Grider.
Problem Cause.